Hello, everyone. I'm Larissa Bica at the European People's Party, and on behalf of the EPP, welcome to another episode of the EPP Family Talks. Over the past several weeks, we have been bringing our political family together and listening from our leaders to their ideas and projects they have been working on, especially in this time of the coronavirus crisis. Today we have the privilege to welcome Mrs. Adina-Ioana Vălean, European Commissioner for Transport. Mrs. Vălean, thank you very much for joining us today.
Hello, everyone. Of course, it's a pleasure, Larissa.
We have been asking our EPP leaders to start off about their personal experiences in coping with the pandemic. So how have you adapted, and how is a typical day for you?
Well, there is no ordinary day for a transport commissioner. I have been from the very beginning in so-called crisis mode, since I was invited by President von der Leyen to be part of the crisis response team of the European Commission. Of course, we know why, because transport appeared for everyone to be very impacted and very important for our society in times of crisis. Then, of course, we had to move a lot of our activity remotely. So we started to give priority to online meetings, crisis discussion, networking with the member states, and of course, in parallel, we had to move our projects further. So there are interesting times, and we've learned how to deal with this remote working methods. Nowadays, we resumed our activities in headquarters of the Commission, but we are still using to engage with outside people, mainly the online connections. So this in a nutshell how it looks. Lots of meetings, networking, trying to solve crisis issues, and in parallel putting forward impact assessments and debate and contributions to our main political files for transport, which would be sustainability and digitalization. I'm supposed to present by the end of the year a strategy at European level for sustainable and smart mobility. But a part of that, I would say that it's also about the resilience of the transport sector. So we are thinking in parallel what we can do to build in the resilience, but also to use the opportunity of this crisis in order that the recovery would be more sustainable and smart, as a lot of our citizens are requesting.
And this brings me to the next question that I wanted to ask you about your activity at European level, the challenges that you have faced during the past months, and yes, the most important dossiers for you for the future of the European Union, and indeed you already mentioned some.
So we had to work a lot on crisis management, try to bring together member states to coordinate among themselves, because as you may remember at the beginning of the crisis in March, we have seen long queues of trucks in borders blocked there. Then we have witnessed the grounding of aircrafts. Then we needed to support the workers in the sector in order to be able to commute and be available for providing the goods so much needed during the crisis for all our economies. To maintain the supply chains open, and also for medical purposes, but also for day-to-day life goods which people would need to find on their shelves. But this is an ongoing process, because we didn't get rid of the virus. Now we are in a phase in which we need to learn how to live with the virus. Since we don't have a vaccine or available clear treatment for this disease. So we are continuing to monitor and work with the member states. We have a network of contact points, so that's a very good thing, because now people are talking among themselves on issues which are raised day by day. And it's also, we are maintaining our green lanes. This was a concept I brought forward. Green corridors along which across Europe the goods can move freely, and green lanes in the borders with maximum 15 minutes wait for the trucks. And now, for example, we are taking all these measures to the next level. We put in place a Galileo green lanes. So this is a tool developed by the Commission, by us, in order to help those who are on the roads with goods, the truck drivers, to know how is the situation in borders across Europe. So this is more in a crisis mode. Of course, for example, if we look at the aviation, we are thinking what we are going to do with the winter season for the slots for the aviation industry. Also, it's a fine-tuning between the economic impact of the stakeholders, between airports, airlines, passengers. One of the things I wanted to recall you and our listeners is that I had to fight hard and defend the passengers' rights, because, as you know, the passengers are very well protected in Europe by European legislation. So in the case of a cancelling, they are supposed to be reimbursed and or accept a voucher if they agree to it. And we have seen that was a lot of bad practicing from airlines, from also tourism and travel, and not reimbursing people. But I would say that we resisted the pressures of changing the legislation. So the legislation is still in place. We are monitoring what is going on, and we launched already infringement procedures against member states which are not respecting the European legislation on passenger rights. So this in itself, it was a fight, but I think it was for the good purpose. And now, then we had to work for the recovery package. We contributed on designing this Next Generation EU, which is on top of the multi-annual financial framework, our proposal for how to help with European money together the economy to recover and all the sectors. It's not ring-fenced for each sector, but transport itself can benefit from a lot of instruments which are in this Next Generation EU proposal. Nowadays, we are looking forward for the meeting of the heads of states and governments, and we are truly hoping that they will decide positively on our proposal, because we need the budget as soon as possible in order to raise the money and make them available for the European economies. So this is what we are doing right now and what is most important on our agenda. Today we had the college, and for example, my colleagues put forward a debate or a communication on taxation in Europe, how to make it more efficient, more fair. We discussed also a paper of my colleague from Health on preparedness for eventually other waves of COVID in Europe. So you see, day-to-day discussions and issues are very interesting, and they are keeping us extremely busy.
Indeed, you have a huge amount of work, and also thank you for mentioning protecting passengers' rights, because this is a discussion that, especially now during the summertime, in terms of cancellations and everything that's going on, it's important to be known about what the European Union is doing for everyone, for each one of us.
Yes, so if someone considers that his rights were not respected, they should address a complaint to the national enforcement agencies. Then there is the next stage at European level. If you bought a ticket from a company which is not based in your country, you can address also the European Consumer Protection Body. So, and we are monitoring all this situation. And as I said, we are trying to convince member states to act, because they are primarily the ones who should defend the legislation. But there where we see no movement, we already launched infringement procedures, and we are intending to maintain toughness on the issue. It's also about the trust. If we want to restart traveling, and if we want to restart this sector, so people would trust buying again a ticket or a holiday, they need to see that they are protected. And eventually, if there is a cancellation, their rights of reimbursement would be respected. Another thing we have done, because we recognize the fact that a lot of companies in transport were facing liquidity issues suddenly, we propose also ways how to make a voucher more attractive, so that someone would accept to take a voucher. Because if a voucher is insured against insolvency of the company, if the voucher is maybe more generous than the initial service, if it can be transferable to other person, so on and so forth. If you have, we propose all these possible packages, these methods to make a voucher more attractive in order for people to opt for a voucher. But the primarily right remains to be reimbursed if they choose to do so.
I will thank you very much. I would like to say thank you also to our audience, to the people that are watching us right now. For our Romanian followers that tuned in, we will conduct this interview now in Romanian. Doamnă comisar european, vă mulțumim foarte mult pentru acest interviu. O să continui acum cu câteva întrebări mai informale, să zic așa, pentru ca audiența noastră să audă și aceste lucruri și să facă mai bine. Există vreo carte interesantă sau vreun film văzut în ultima perioadă ce poate fi recomandat?
Ca să fiu sinceră, nu știu ce a ieșit nou, n-am avut timp să urmăresc, dar în această perioadă... Din trecut, da. Am câțiva producători și regizori favoriți, cum este Tarantino sau cum sunt frații Coen, și întotdeauna când vreau să mă relaxez, revăd Pulp Fiction sau oricare din filmele fraților Coen, pentru că au un spirit foarte puternic, atipic, și ne plasează cumva în afara cotidianului. Pe de altă parte, sunt foarte umani în a descrie relații între oameni care se desfășoară, nu neapărat după reguli stricte. Deci, din punctul meu de vedere, sunt foarte reconfortanți și folosesc întotdeauna când vreau să mă relaxez. Da.
Ați descoperit ceva inedit în această perioadă, să spunem, de exemplu, un hobby sau o activitate care poate în trecut nu i-a acordat atât de multă atenție? Știu că sunteți foarte ocupată, așa că ce măsură să aveți activități?
Ce am descoperit în această perioadă, am redescoperit, să zic, telefonul și computerul personal și o serie întreagă de aplicații care m-au ajutat să comunic. Am găsit că există acolo o întreagă multitudine și merg foarte bine. De altfel, am o părere foarte bună despre conectivitate în ansamblu la nivelul Uniunii Europene, pentru că am constatat că foarte ușor putem comunica. Deci există o infrastructură destul de dezvoltată, iar companiile au făcut o treabă destul de bună în această perioadă în care cred că a fost o presiune foarte mare pe volumele de date care au circulat în digital. Hobby n-am avut timp nici de cele mai vechi, dar îmi descoper altele, tocmai din cauza acestei situații de criză. Dar să sperăm că vine vacanța și lucrurile merg mai bine și o să putem să ne luăm fiecare dintre noi câteva zile libere și atunci cine știe.
Și pentru ascultătorii noștri tot așa, care sunt următorii pași în ce privește comisia, în ce privește activitatea dumneavoastră?
Pentru noi acum prioritatea este să avem bugetul multianual și programul de recovery aprobate de șefii de stat, ca să putem din toamnă deja să începem să facem, cum se zice, podul între bugete, să putem să începem deja susținerea. Apoi, pentru mine personal, ca domeniu al transporturilor, e de mare interes accelerarea acestor dosare pe care urmează să le propun până la sfârșitul anului. Suntem în consultare publică cu strategia privind sustenabilitatea și inovarea în domeniul transporturilor și vreau în felul acesta să încurajez pe toți cei care ne ascultă să contribuie cu idei și cu o viziune privind felul în care doresc sau își privesc propria mobilitate în viitor, pentru că în felul acesta propunerea noastră se va îmbogăți și va avea, cum să spun, un input din partea cetățenilor. Lucrăm la asta, lucrăm la combustibili alternativi pentru aviație și pentru maritim, pe care legislație pe care vrem să o propunem tot așa până înainte de sfârșitul anului. Ori toate astea sunt procese lungi. În paralel facem o analiză a pachetului de mobilitate. Știu că pentru România e foarte important, pentru că noi avem un segment de piață din piața europeană foarte important pentru transportatorii rutieri, iar noul adoptat pachet de mobilitate aduce câteva elemente, să spunem, care sunt defavorabile, cum ar fi întoarcerea obligatorie a camionului sau limitări în ceea ce privește cabotajul și la asta facem un impact assessment, lucrăm la un impact assessment, să analizăm dacă aceste două măsuri sunt corecte sau nu din punct de vedere al mediului, al climei, al pieței interne și asta este de asemenea foarte important. Apoi, sunt 1000 de lucruri. Astea sunt proiectele pentru începutul anului. Pentru începutul anului viitor, sper, avem un angajament destul de serios în a urmări ce vor propune ca proiecte statele membre pentru transporturi, pentru că până în aprilie, în baza rapoartelor semestriale europene, prioritățile, fiecare stat membru va trebui să-și propună niște proiecte finanțabile prin fondul acesta de recuperare și suntem foarte angajați și încercăm să susținem statele membre în a face propuneri interesante pentru transporturi, pentru acest domeniu.
Doamna comisar european, vă mulțumim foarte mult pentru toate aceste informații și pentru că ne-ați făcut plăcerea de a vă avea invitată în acest episod EPP Family Talks. Mrs. Adina-Ioana Vălean, thank you very much for taking the time to attend this EPP Family Talks. And on behalf of the EPP, thank you for all the important work you are doing.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All the best and be safe.
Thank you. Dear followers, thank you for your interest and engagement. Have a great day and see you next week for another episode of the EP Family Talks.